gustar en español. Gustar can be a very confusing verb in Spanish. So in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to use it, plus verbs that behave just like gustar in Spanish. So, me gusta el taco. I like the taco. Now, here's the thing. In English, we often translate gustar as to like. However, sometimes it makes it easier to understand how and when to use gustar if you think of this translation as to be pleasing to. Okay, so for example, the taco pleases me, which might sound a little weird, but here's the thing. This helps us more easily understand why we would say me gusta el taco instead of saying something like me gusto el taco, which sounds weird and is incorrect. Here's the thing. What's going on here is the verb gustar is being conjugated on this noun, which is el taco. In this case, el taco is considered the third person singular. Remember that the third person singular in Spanish is simply the el, ella, or usted form. So we're conjugating gustar in that third person singular because el taco is a singular noun. Okay? Me gusta el taco. Now, this thing right here is what we call an indirect object pronoun. The idea here is that me, aka me, is being indirectly affected by this verb. So gustar is directly affecting this noun, which is el taco, and I happen to be indirectly affected by it. And therefore, we use the indirect object pronoun. I know this might seem like a lot, but it's actually more simple than you might think. Okay, so me gusta el taco. So gusta is being conjugated based off of el taco. Me gusta el taco. So how would I say, for example, you like the taco? How would I say that? You like the taco. Okay. All I need to do is change this indirect object pronoun to te. Okay. Te gusta el taco. You like the taco. Okay. Our indirect object pronouns in Spanish are me, te, le, nos, and les. We also have os if you're interested in a more Castilian Spanish, which is spoken in Spain. Okay? But those are the ones you need to know if you're learning Latin American Spanish. Me, te, le, nos, and les. Okay? So, me gusta el taco. I like the taco. But now, notice how we have me gustan los tacos. So now it's plural, right? Now, instead of being a singular noun, we have a plural noun, okay? And notice how now, instead of gusta, we have gustan. The me doesn't change. It stays the same. However, we need to change how gustar is conjugated depending on the noun and how much of the noun that there is, okay? So whether it is singular or plural, okay? So we have gusta el taco versus gustan los tacos, okay? All right, so our conjugation for the verb gustar is just like any other regular AR verb in Spanish. So this is the present tense. We have o, as, a, amos, an. Okay, so it would be gusto, gustas, gusta, gustamos, and gustan. Okay, now here is an example for you. Number 3, we have me gustas. Okay, so if we use that translation of to be pleasing to or to please, here we have you please me, which might sound a little bit weird, but in English we would translate this as I like you or you are pleasing to me. Now, be careful. When you say something like me gustas, this means in a romantic sense. So if I were to say to you, me gustas, I'm saying I like you in a romantic way. Whereas if I were to just say to you, hey, I like you as a friend, I think you're cool, I like you, we get along. You can say, me caes bien. Literally, you fall me well. Sometimes in Spanish, we are not going to have perfect translations into English, okay? So, me gustas, I like you in a romantic sense, and me caes bien, I like you in a friendly sense. Now, here we have the conditional tense instead of the present, and it would be, ¿te gustaría ir al cine? Would you like to go to the movie theater? Now, notice how gustaría is once again being conjugated in that third person singular, that él, ella, usted form. The reason is because when we have an infinitive verb, like this verb, ir, meaning to go, we will use the third person singular conjugation, okay? ¿Te gustaría ir al cine? Okay? Now, what if I were saying, you guys, would you guys like to go to the movie theater? What would I say? I would say, les gustaría. Les gustaría ir al cine. Would you guys like to go to the movie theater? Remember that les is the third person plural, right? It's that ellos, ellas, ustedes form, and our indirect object pronoun would be les. I know there's a lot of information, but I promise you, if you just learn these indirect object pronouns, so me, te, le, nos, and les, and you understand the conjugations of the verb gustar, you simply need to remember that gustar is being affected by the noun of the sentence, so whether it's singular or plural, okay? All right, so let's do some practice exercises. Let's use gustar here. How would I say, they like the book, or you guys like the book, okay? It would be les gusta, right? Les gusta el libro, okay? Because el libro is the singular noun, right? So it wouldn't be gustan, even though this is les, it's gusta, okay? So I'll write that here, and then we'll take a look at the next side of the board. All right, so there you can see in my terrible writing, les gusta el libro. They like the book, okay? Now, coming over to this side of the whiteboard, we have other verbs that behave like gustar. I don't know why I did that little ninja turn there, but you know what? It's over. I already did it, so it's fine. Okay, so other verbs that behave like gustar. Encantar, meaning to love. Okay, this is not necessarily to love someone. It could be used in the sense, me encantas, I love you, I think you're awesome, I think you're great. But here, encantar means that you love something, like I love basketball, for example. Molestar, meaning to bother or to annoy, can also mean to disturb. Parecer, meaning to seem. And doler, meaning to ache or to hurt. Okay? So let's practice. Okay? Let's say we want to say we love apples. Okay? So we're using the verb encantar. We love apples. How will we say that? Okay? Nos encantan las manzanas, because las manzanas is plural. So instead of saying encanta, we're going to say encantan. Oh my gosh, my writing is incredible. It's so good. Nos encantan las manzanas, because once again, las manzanas is plural. Okay? How about this? Le blank los ruidos de la ciudad. So let's use a verb like molestar, meaning to annoy or to disturb. Okay? So, le blank los ruidos de la ciudad. Okay? So, we're talking about le. This could mean him, could mean her, could also mean usted. We don't know, right? I need extra context in order to understand who I am talking about. That's why the indirect object pronoun le and also les can be very confusing, because le can represent él, ella, or usted, and les can represent ellos, ellas, or ustedes. You will get this with time. Can you hear that? Can you hear that police siren in the background? I'm getting annoyed by all these sounds of the city. So I would say le molestan, making it plural, right? Because los ruidos is plural. So it's not molesta, it would be molestan. Okay, so the sounds of the city bother him. Le molestan los ruidos de la ciudad. And finally, me blank los videos de Nate. Be careful which verb you choose here. Just kidding. Okay, so let's say I love Nate's videos, or use gustar. And look, if my videos bother you, then well, no sé qué decirte. So, me blank los videos de Nate. Okay, let's use the verb gustar to finish off. We have me gustan. Once again, in my very clear handwriting, me gustan los videos de Nate. And we're saying gustan because, once again, los is plural. All right? Like I said, there are many different verbs that behave like gustar. These are some of the most common ones that I use. But there you have it, okay? That's why gustar can be a little bit tricky, because it's being conjugated based off of these nouns instead of the person, right? So I'm not saying gusto, right? Like when I say a verb like hablar, to speak, I would say yo hablo, right? Yo hablo español. That is something that I do. I speak Spanish. Whereas here, Gustar is being conjugated off of this noun instead of the person that is speaking, okay? Bueno, muchas gracias por ver este video. If you want to learn more Spanish with me, click the link in the video description to check out our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. We have, gosh, I think almost 300 students now in the program. It is really, really cool, very valuable. Check it out by clicking the link in the video description. Our goal is to help you have a 10-minute conversation in 90 days without feeling unconfident. So check it out by clicking the link in the video description or going to SpanishWithNate.com. Muchas gracias, espero que tengas muy buen día. Gracias por ver este video y nos vemos muy pronto. Hasta luego.